You know what time it is, Christian?
Oh, indeed I do, Joshua.
Well, it's time for the comic book catch-up. Hey guys, welcome to June's edition of our comic book catch-up. This is the first one that is going to be on YouTube, I think, possibly. First time I'm using this program, so feel free to show me a little grace. If you're on Patreon right now, then you already know. This is Systematic Geekology. We are the Priest of the Geeks, and you're able to interact with us. You're able to see this live, do some comments, let us know about your comic books, what you thought about some of the issues that we're going to talk about. The one Christian wants to bring up that I'm going to take my headphones off and run in circles and scream so I don't hear anything about it. It's going to be a great time. If you're not on Patreon, you could be. You could be. All you got to do is go to patreon.com/systematic geekology. You can join us over there. I'm Joshua Noel, or Josh the Pirate, as it says here. This is fun. And Christian Ashley is the other host that's joined me today, the amazing Spider fan who doesn't like the Amazing Spider-Man.
Not this run. Not one bit.
I was just like, okay, they're doing their thing. I don't really care that much. Whatever. And then the issue you want to talk about today happened. And I'm like,
one before.
Ban them. Oh, okay, good.
This is the fallout of that.
Oh, okay. Well, the one before. I just want them to be banned from all comic books and everything. No, Will says he has a more positive perspective. For those who want to know what we're talking about, I think we're talking about Amazing Spider-Man 26 when they killed off my favorite character. Spoiler. Wait a second. Kamala Khan, which was dumb. They just did it for publicity for the movie coming up and all that. But Will's take is sometimes they kill a character and it allows you to kind of reflect on who they are. And to an extent, I guess it achieved that. I never read the comic, but I have been rereading some of her earlier team-ups and stuff. Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. And it did remind me, there was this time in comic book history where they kind of, all of the Avengers and Spider-Man, everybody kind of got kind of dark, a little like, a little edgy kind of stuff. And here comes Kamala Khan, this happy-go-lucky Peter Parker-esque character from like early Peter Parker. And all of her team-ups, she's like, no, we're not going to do that. That's not what the Avengers do. I've been following the Avengers my whole life. I'm a huge fan. This is what the Avengers are. And she does these like little mini speeches that really just come off as like her geeking out. But when you think about it, it's like, oh no, this is the person who actually gets it. This is the person who gets what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad all it took for you to get on my side was the murder of a teenage girl. So thank you, Joshua.
How dare they? But also, man, early Kamala Khan is great. I'm excited. G. Willow Wilson is coming back to write kind of her eulogy thing that they're going to be doing, like a 4-issue thing. I'm upset that it happened, but G. Willow Wilson coming back makes me feel like maybe there's something redeemable here. Maybe.
Let's hope so. I'm also glad that Will can find something positive in this moment.
In everything somehow.
Yeah. But sometimes I get a little too negative for my own good. Reading The Amazing Spider-Man does not help that.
Yeah. Well, before we jump into our actual picks, like your Amazing Spider-Man you want to talk about, we're going to do a lightning round. And before we do our lightning round, I was going to throw out there that we don't usually do it for comic books, but I think we might start because we usually just have more than we're able to talk about. And I did not do due diligence in looking up all the artists and writers' names for my lightning round picks. So I'm sorry. But I will start this one off, Christian, and just kind of I'm going to throw out 2 for 1 here. Superman Lost and the current Superman run with John Kent that they kind of rebooted again. They're both actually really good. I really like Superman Lost. Clark Kent kind of showing us who Superman is in different scenarios where he's not just on Earth as the supreme powerful being. He's lost. He's in space. He's having to find a way to navigate, show some of his wit, some of his abilities to think outside of just, I am Superman. So
yes,
I enjoy that. I enjoy that a lot. So that's going to be my first lightning round pick. Christian, what you got?
Well, I'll go with Superman as well, actually, Action Comics, because I am slowly but surely getting closer to where we are currently. I'm thinking I'm like 4 or 5 issues behind because a Twitter friend of mine who shares my distaste for what is happening to Spider-Man right now said, hey, like, look, like DC's not perfect, but you mentioned earlier like that you never you know nothing, that's what's going on right now, read this run of Action Comics, which is where Superman goes to War World and is trying to free the slaves there and fight against Mongol. And like, man, that was an amazing arc. So that is my lightning round pick there. If you guys want to check that out, because it portrays Superman well. It actually made me care about the Authority, which I have never once done in my life. So yeah.
Clark Kent Superman?
No, yes, Clark Kent Superman.
Okay. Well, it's interesting
not
because
John.
The John Kent run right now, he is in another dimension kind of situation also, because there's someone, I forget what the guy's name is, but he's been going around killing all of the Clark Kents in every universe. So naturally he went to the main universe, and John Kent was like, no. Well, there were some other Superman and people who showed up in their universe, and, you know, they did the classic superheroes fight each other thing, and then they found out why they were fighting, and he went, okay, well, we have to find this guy and stop him.
Yes.
Because universes need Clark Kent, it turns out. Which, yeah, okay. I'm there for that. Man, my next one, Spider-Gwen Shadow Clones. As a Spider-Man fan, I'm interested in your take. I'm loving it. It's a lot like last year's clone thing, so I'm kind of like a little burnt, but the fun twist being that it's not just her clone. They kind of pulled like what they did for what's that Superman character's name? I can't think of him. Connor? Yeah, they kind of pulled what they did with Connor, and it's like it's his clone, but it's also Lex's clone. So all these are like Gwen Stacy's Spider-Woman clone, but also Dr. Octopus, but also Sandman, you know, so they all have like her personality mixed with one of those classic Earth 666 villains or 616 villains. Funny. I hope it's not 666. But yeah, so it's kind of fun seeing those personalities clash and see where the story is going. It hasn't hit somewhere where I'm super interested to talk about it yet, but when the series is over, I might come back on here, or we might do like a special one-off to talk about it, because I'm actually really liking the Shadow Clones, even if it is a little repetitive. Spider-Man and clones, I don't get it.
It's like Spider-Man and Spider-Verses right now. Sometimes it's done really well, like with the movie. Sometimes it's, well, we've gotten recently with Slott, and that's all I'll say. My best frenemy, Slott.
That's okay.
I haven't gotten blocked out by him on Twitter yet. Not that I'm trying to do that, but it's apparently really easy.
So what's your next lightning pick?
Lightning pick. You mentioned Doctor Strange will be one of your picks, but I didn't see that 60th anniversary one. But I did read Doctor Strange 4, where we get what is essentially the S.H.I.E.L.D. version of magic with Wand, and Wong is working with them, and they've discovering mysteries and stuff like that, like solving problems. But they're starting to believe that someone out there is killing magical beings, and the biggest suspect looked like it's Clea, who just married Steven. So
yeah,
I'm really into that.
Yeah. So the 60th anniversary, my pick is issue 3 in that run. So I haven't read issue 4 yet. I'm a little behind, but
then I have read that.
Man, Dormammu and Clea's relationship is also pretty interesting. They didn't super get into it yet, but I'm hoping they get more into that. Because Dormammu's just fun. Dormammu is like, Doctor Strange also wants to fight the devil, but we just have too much Mephisto out there. So, here's Dormammu.
Yeah, too much Mephisto for our own good, some would say, for the past.
It's just basically double devil.
15 years.
No, I love Mephisto. I don't love one specific thing, but also of that thing, you have to admit, he's talking about the Spider-Man thing that happened with him and Mary Jane and all that. You have to admit that is exactly what Mephisto would have done in that situation. The writers got that part right. It's just the rest that I'm like, why?
Targeting the marriage specifically, no. Targeting the souls, yes.
I could see either. I could see both, but I don't know. Okay, let's see. What's my other ones? Miles Morales Spider-Man, always good.
Yes.
And of course, I have to throw out Doctor Strange and Scar currently going on. I've heard good things about Mephisto's comic run too, but Mephisto Maleficence, I just I don't care a ton about Maleficent. I think really what it is I'm just burnt on her. And in my mind, she's exclusively a Kingdom Hearts bad guy. And I don't want to think of her in any context outside of Kingdom Hearts.
Yes.
Like, I don't even need to watch the old Disney movies with her. Like, nah. It's just she is a Kingdom Hearts bad guy. That's it.
first appearing in Kingdom Hearts, nowhere else.
Yes, exactly. But the Scar run has been incredible, really interesting. I'm excited to kind of dig more into, because they're not doing his backstory. They're doing his simultaneous story with the movie and kind of making more sense out of his motives, what's going on, what emotions and stuff he's struggling with, and reminding us that he actually did have a relationship with some of these characters, like Rafiki. Blows my mind that Scar and Rafiki were friends at one point.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah,
That's
actually,
super
I guess.
interesting.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense. You're like, oh, I guess they would have been. He's royalty, and that's Rafiki's
They
whole
would've known each
dig.
other.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just so interesting. Doctor Strange. Darkwing Duck is all off on. He discovered there is a mastermind conspiracy plan going on, so he's going after a big baddie. So they had a really good build up, but I don't want to waste my regular picks on a build up. So I'll just throw out there Darkwing Duck is still great. I'll wait till next time.
Okay.
What do you got? Any more lightning rounds?
I think I'm done.
All right. Well then, let's jump into the main topic. You wanted to start with Amazing Spider-Man 27. Zeb Wells, Ed McGuinness, a bunch of other people work on this project. I usually just do one of the writer and then one of the artists. But make sure you guys look things up, give credit where credit's due. I recently went to Comic-Con and realized there's so many people that do art and stuff for different projects I like that I just don't know their names. And if I did, I could have brought books and got them signed. So I really missed out on that. So make sure you do your homework.
Fair enough. So after the amazing issue last time where lots of good things happened, and yeah. Okay. I'm going to get this out of the way real quick. As it's been made very apparent for anyone who's been listening, I have despised this run. It is not the worst thing in the world. I will put it that way. It's not. There's only two things I rated -1 out of 10. And those things being One More Day and The Last Jedi. Those two things are betrayals of everything those two franchises stand for. This is getting
Last
there.
Jedi is 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Perfect
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah,
Continue.
Yeah, this is my stream now. Shut up. No, so I will admit my biases are against Zeb Wells, Ramita Jr., who's not in this art for this book, for this particular issue. It's not my thing. But what we have here is the fallout of after Kamala Khan's death, after they finally defeat random villain that Wells made 10 years ago, YF or whatever, who is suddenly he's all Spider-Man's villain now. And just him finally he reconnects with the Fantastic Four. That's great, even though the fact that they ever fought in the first place was stupid. It's whatever. But let's focus on this issue in particular. Peter's angry, obviously. Kamala died in the process of what happened, like she, using one of her lesser known powers, shapeshifted into Mary Jane Watson, confusing way up Flash Raven, whatever, and he killed her thinking he was killing Mary Jane. Amazing. It's so spectacular. So, like I said, Peter's obviously upset, but Black Cat, who he is dating for whatever reason now, because Wells has to ship his versus what should be reality, is taking Peter out on patrol because she knows Peter works better when he's at work sometimes. So we find out along the way, she is actually hired the Shocker to do a job so that Peter could take him out and feel good about doing something good. So I get it. Why she would think that's a good idea. Like, Peter does need something to de-stress himself with, and Superheroics has mostly done that for him. I still think it's not the best play, and I don't know why I'm supposed to support the two of them together if decisions like this keep happening. It's not fun. Like, yeah, Shocker gets taken out. We'd also see one thing I do like. One thing I do like is Norman Osborn is dealing with the fallout of what happened in Gold Goblin, where he killed Ashley Kafka, a villain who never should have existed, thanks to the run before this, where she has now become the Goblin Queen. No, excuse me, Queen Goblin. Sorry, Goblin Queen is Madeline Pryor. And yeah, of course, Marvel, everything's got to be all over the place. And he's wrestling with that because Norman, of course, in the Spencer's run, was hit by the Sin Eater's weapon, which took away his sins from him. And now he, as a person, can feel guilt, can wonder what he was ever doing with his life, how he could do things more positively, which I have loved what Wells has done with him in certain regards, because that's such a huge change for a character as Norman, like this sociopath who wants to control, who wants to get what's his and get rid of anyone who gets in his way. But now we have someone who says, that's who I used to be. What can I be now? I'm in it to win it. And I think for the most part, Wells has done a really good job with him. So not everything is evil here.
But most things.
Yeah, a lot of things. And one plot thread that we do pick up on is in Amazing Spider-Man 900. There's this moment where Dr. Octopus's tentacles kind of rebel against him and actually help Spider-Man out. And now they've been like kind of stalking him this whole time, like whether it's like this pseudo like love or something like that, which is weird, but you know what, comics, I'm okay with it. But Dr. Octopus has found his renegade tentacles, uses a device to take them out, and it goes on a motive rant of like, you know, how much he loves radiation and science and all this, and he's going to get what's his. And of course, he's got to take revenge on his tentacles for rebelling against him, which, you know, is just one of the most,
of course,
in the world. Yeah. We get a nice scene between Peter and Norman where like they're both wrestling with the guilt of what happened with Kamala, because she was only there in the first place because she saw Norman Osborn. You know, and like, oh, well, he's a Green Goblin. Bad things happen when he's around, not knowing that he's been freed of his past sins at this moment in time. So answer me this, Josh. Has she ever shown an interest in science? I've read some of her solo stuff, but I'm not up to date.
I want to say, yeah. I don't think it's like a main thing.
Okay, because that's one of the criticisms I saw, was that suddenly she's a scientific intern working for Oscorp because reasons. What? Yeah, that's what she's been doing in this run. Like, she has appeared like, well, hey guys, I'm here, and then like left the plot, and then hey guys, I'm here, and left the plot, just so we can establish later on, oh, she can be around, so we can murder her in cold blood. I think someone did the math on it, and she's been in like less than 2% of this run.
Also, we're talking about Kamala Khan, like the geekiest geek ever, who knows every single character and all of their history. She's not going to work for Oscorp. Like, that's just not something she would do.
Well, no. Her purpose being is that she was trying to keep tabs on Norman.
I still just doesn't seem like her MO. She doesn't like spy on people. Like, that's not
a huge stretch. I don't like it, but they do give a justification for it. It's a dumb one. But
remember when I was refusing to read this because of that exact purpose? I'm going back to that. I'm still refusing to read it.
That's fine. So we get all there, and of course, Queen Goblin is not dead, and she comes back at Ravencroft, you know, the place where she used to work because she was a respected psychiatrist, and all this mess. But, you know, then, gosh, what was the run before this that came out when Spider-Man and Ben Reilly?
If you keep going, Beyond. This is going to turn into a Drinks with Tejas.
Yeah. Almost done. Last thing. It's, if I remember correctly, in 900, like the tentacles like bonded to Jameson for a second, and there's a moment where we get a picture of him like upset, and it ends with them like, after Dr. Octopus has like tortured them and taken them out, they have managed to find their way to Jameson, and that's the end of the issue, which I would say intrigues me. I'm interested to see what he does with Dr. Octopus, especially with the news that Slott is coming back for a Superior Spider-Man run again, because we can't have new ideas. We have to revisit old ideas and run them into the ground like Spider-Verse. Josh, I'm done. Okay, what do you want?
So many things. I like a lot of the ideas being redone and shown with a different twist or a new perspective. So like you were able to bring out some new thing. Also, though, the reason I usually read Marvel over DC is because DC tends to be too fantastical. Like, I don't need all the convoluted, crazy weirdness. I just want a straightforward story. Like, I think about the story and not where did someone's tentacles go and how we need revenge on this inanimate object or whatever. Like, I'm like, that's just please stop. Perhaps this is why I don't read DC. What are you doing?
Yes.
But also at the same time, Across the Spider-Verse has been really good. Like those comics I've enjoyed, especially the Dino Spiders. And then
they've been
the
hit or miss.
fairy godmother. Sorry, I should put that in my lightning round. But you were talking about like the the Goblin Witch, and I was like, what if we stopped talking about this? I was talking about Across the Spider-Verse. Those are some good comics.
So yeah, I'll be discussing more of that in What's New episode I'm recording today. Of my topic will be Wells's run as a whole.
I'll avoid that.
It's best you do. I will barely restrain my anger.
Yeah. So my first pick,
something more positive.
Doctor Strange. The 60th anniversary was issue 3 of this, which, for Will's sake, let's see, what is legacy number 429? So that's fun. That's for you, Will. I loved this issue. It was an extra long issue. It was a lot of fun. Dormammu is coming for what's the name of the holiday, Christian?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll simply
it's like the one day they have a truce.
Yeah. Once a year, they basically visit each other and talk, and
no fighting can be allowed. Like they just have to
parlay day. Yeah. And it's just fun because every time Dormammu always uses this as sort of I did this out of order, out of the excuse to kind of use someone else's body, possess them, and kind of burn out their soul. So Dormammu does kill someone once a year during this parlay because Doctor Strange isn't supposed to fight him. And these people are willingly, servants of Dormammu, giving up their souls to this devil, literally the devil. And it's just kind of like, oh, what? Why? Do we need to do this exactly? But it's fun. The first part of this is Doctor Strange just kind of, it's fun because they are able to do like the flashback, callback, fan service stuff in a way that makes sense. And it's Doctor Strange antagonizing Dormammu with, hey, do you remember all these times I beat you? This time when you lost, or this time, you are a terrible devil. Page. You suck.
Like all those continuity callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
I love that page.
And they show like some of the original panels throughout it. And I'm like, this is so much fun. He's just teasing Dormammu, going at it the whole time. And then near the end, well, first, let's see if I can get to this. Yeah. Actually, I did like that pull up a little bit better. One of the Dormammu's trying to like tempt Strange because, they're going back and forth. Their parlay day. He's like, you can have this whole city, everything. Doctor Strange quotes the Bible at him.
Yes.
And says, oh, sorry, that's the wrong devil. And I just thought it was so funny. Doctor Strange did the Jesus devil moment, just kind of like, oh, that's not going to work. I've read the Bible before, it turns out. And near the end of the thing, they get a coin, and he's like, okay, hey, throw this coin in the thing, whatever. I forget how it is. He tricks Dormammu into doing this coin, but basically, while Doctor Strange has it, he has no power. Mm-hmm. So he makes himself completely vulnerable in front of Dormammu. And he basically is like, hey, guy that's being possessed right now, after hearing all the times that Dormammu lost, after hearing all of this conversation, do you still want to serve him? Gives the coin to Dormammu, who's possessing this guy, and the guy is able to free himself. And he's like, oh, thank you for saving me. And one of the things I thought was really cool was Doctor like, no, I just enabled you to save yourself. Like, you did it.
Yes.
And that was one that I was like, ooh, that's good. That's good. Because how many times, like, as people who are in ministry or anything like that, I'm trying to word this right. Some pastors will do this where they're like, oh, we need to get these people saved. We need to do this or whatever. Or they're like, our church had this many people saved. But I really love it when you have someone who's like, God save them. All we're doing is presenting them with this opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in general, that's also, it's not just a better way to present what happened because that's what really happened, but it also shows humility. And I think it shows just a better attitude towards the other. Jesus does have this whole thing of love your neighbor, and that doesn't just include people who believe like you. So I really like people who have this mentality of, I'm not going to force you to believe what I believe. I'm going to tell you what I believe. I'm going to show you what I think's evidence. I'm going to hear your side out. And then you have the opportunity. I have the opportunity, if I'm wrong, right, to be shown that I'm wrong. And I think presenting people with opportunity and letting people have that free will is way more powerful than I'm going to have that person saved, or just combating behavior. Obviously, he's not trying to save the guy's soul. I mean, he sort of is, but
Yes.
but I mean, it's kind of tricky here. But it's really interesting that he quotes the Bible and then turns around and presents someone with the opportunity to deny the devil themselves. And, not the devil, it's Dormammu, but Dormammu's basically the devil. Let's be real. He's a fiery being from another dimension that's basically hell.
One of
Like,
a dozen
yeah.
others in Marvel, but you understand.
Yeah. And I don't know. Something about it was really powerful because, and I think there's this misconception with characters like Doctor Strange where, like, you think it's like, oh, magic, and they're gonna, the devil's fighting the devil, and it's all like dark stuff. And Doctor Strange does use dark magic. He is married to Dormammu's daughter, sort of. Lots of weird stuff. Something. Lots of weird stuff. But I think the really cool moments are moments like these. It's not darkness fighting darkness. It is a message of hope fighting the devil. And I'm like, I thought that was really well done. Great 60th, a lot of cool panels, a lot of great art. Doctor Strange is fully Doctor Strange. It's completely his character. I don't think anything happened out of character. And I'm like, this is why those who love Doctor Strange, this is why they love him. Not because of the cool fight scenes or any of the cool stuff that happens in the movies, but because he's able to find a loophole. He's able to negotiate a deal. And it's just cool. It's cool to see him at his best.
Yeah, I'm so glad McKay is on this book.
Yeah.
He has done a tremendous job with Strange and Clea after Strange coming back to life. And I've also enjoyed, I haven't talked about this, I don't think, but I've enjoyed his Moon Knight run as well. He's really got a grasp on him, and he just started his Avengers run too. Yeah, but I think the second one's releasing soon. But right here, we get a powerful moment like you've brought up with this guy is a nobody. And Strange almost gives up everything to barter for this man's soul, to give him the opportunity to say no and choose life for himself and his family, despite knowing, like, hey, I'm still a member of this cult. My family is too. Maybe they'll reject me, or maybe I'll be on my own, or all this stuff. But Strange does it anyway because it's one person who needs help.
Yeah, such a powerful just issue on its own, and then just everything that followed from it. It was incredible. It was really well done. I'm excited for it. There's a lot of stuff coming up I'm excited for, but this Doctor Strange renewal, I was iffy about it. The last few Doctor Strange runs that I picked up were just kind of, like I said, you saw all that dark magic and cool combats and kind of trippy art, and he is known for a lot of that too. But I like this better, where it's kind of getting to the roots of who Doctor Strange is, just someone who understands the rules of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun. Yeah. All right. Did you want to go ahead and go on to your next pick?
Sure thing.
All right. Here we go. Spider-Man India. I know nothing about this. Didn't even know it existed.
I didn't either until I saw it. But this was a breath of fresh air, let's say, compared to something else I might have mentioned earlier today. And it even brings up kind of mini Spider-Verse situation where, and I'm going to screw up his name. I looked it up. It looks like Pavatir, but it's like Pavatra or something like that is his actual name. So I'm just going to say Spider-Man India for the sake of not, making people upset. But he is in 616 temporarily with Miles and Peter, and they have a team up where they're facing off against a Mysterio who's kind of bonded with different Mysterios from other realities. And it's a great moment with them. There's a lot of terrific wordplay between the two of them, some dialogue. They're just being at their quippy best, talking to each other. But eventually they're able to take him down, and then they just have some time to eat and hang out, which how often does that get to happen? Like, normally it's just like, man, I have to go from one crisis to the next. But no, they actually get to enjoy each other's company, which, if Miles is going to be in the same universe as Peter, I always appreciate, because I want him, if he's going to be there, as a mentor figure. that Spider-Man should be able to age and grow up if Miles is going to be the younger, hipper Spider-Man. But we can't do that because, that's bad. Whatever. But they actually have, the three of them have a really good friendship in this. And I enjoyed the focus on that. But it doesn't leave us in 616 because he goes back all the way to Earth 50101, 50,101, how the heck you want to say that, where, and I've never been a fan of his costume in particular in the comics. I really like what they did in the movie. So I'm hoping that's one of the things they take inspiration from in this and change it, because it's really just Peter's costume with whatever that typical Indian garb is around his waist, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
But we get some things here where there's this business mogul. I don't remember everyone's names. I apologize. And even if I did, I probably would butcher their names. So I don't think any of us wants that. This business mogul is trying to claim this slummy part of the city and make it, part of his own thing. But one thing that Pavitra does is he kind of meets his Kurt Connors scientist person here, and they establish a rapport because they bring up science and all this stuff, and he sees, oh, you have an interest in this, and he takes him along to his lab, but it turns out it's a trap because he needs live human test subjects, because this is also a Marvel scientist, which means that things like what's the word I'm looking for, the Hippocratic oath, or ethics, let's put it that way, things like ethics don't exist in the cause of furthering science. Science is always kind of yelled all capital letters in Marvel. But it fails because of his spider powers and stuff like that. But in the process, he ends up touching this conduit that is also hooked up to this lizard next to him. And he ends up becoming this reality's version of the lizard. And that's where we end off. The scientist, not Pavitra.
That's fun. That sounds like a long comic too, though. There's a lot going on there.
It's really not that long. It's but it takes its time with everything that it has, so it feels a lot longer than it is. And I love when a comic does that.
That is fun. I know nothing about any of this. I know who Spider-Man is. I did not know there was a Spider-Man India until you suggested this. I didn't know that existed, because I still haven't seen the new movie either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So well worth your time, both of these. Let's hope they stick the landing with this one too, because Across the Spider-Verse did.
Man, yeah. Edge of the Spider-Verse, is that the current run that I'm reading?
I think so.
How long is it going to go on? You don't know either.
It's only a couple.
I want it to go forever. It is so good. Every time you bring up Spider-Man, I'm like, this is the one that I like right now. Oh man. Okay. So are you going to move on to? So my second pick, which was originally my first pick, The Last Ronin, The Lost Years, issue number 3. The first 2 issues, honestly, I hate to say that, I kind of thought they were snoozers. I didn't care that much. For those wondering, we have interviewed Kevin Eastman before, so I think I know it's on our main feed. That might be on our YouTube somewhere. I'm unsure, but it exists in several places. You can find it. Also, friend of the show, a previous host, Joe Day, does a entire podcast devoted to the Ninja Turtles. So Shell Shocked. So look that up. That's always a good one too. These first 2, I was like, whatever. The premise is, those of us who read The Last Ronin, phenomenal series, ended last year. Now they're doing The Lost Years, and it's what happened before Michelangelo got to the beginning of The Last Ronin, but it's also doing forward flashes, I guess, to after The Last Ronin. So you see these new set of turtles, which there was premise for. There's been premise that the radioactive stuff that caused the Ninja Turtles become who they are affects those next to them. People have got cancer from spending too much time around them, etc. Turns out there were other turtles that existed in the sewers. So naturally, by proximity, more became other Ninja Turtles. It is a little bit of a stretch, but it does make sense. At least there was some kind of premise beforehand. It wasn't just something they pulled out of nowhere. So I'll accept it. I enjoy the new Turtles a lot, but that's not what sold me. What sold me was issue 3 So he's in the where we're filling in the gap years. Michelangelo is finally like, okay, I need to go get revenge for my family. I tried to, stay away from it all and not be impacted, and that's just not really an option. I tried this, tried that, and he's made up his mind. He's going to get revenge. But then, along the way, what we see happen is he runs into this clan that kind of kidnaps him. I forget what it is. Some kind of injury or something happens to him, and he goes blind. Me not having the greatest memory was like, wait a minute. Is it possible he was blind the entire Last Ronin series? Because I couldn't remember. Were there any things that like made it obvious that he was able to see people?
Yes.
Eventually, I kind of did. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, no, he definitely saw April. So I was like, okay, so this isn't going to be a permanent blind situation. But you kind of go on. You see different things throughout. One of my favorite things. So the guy who's leading this clan is also a blind man, and kind of shows him how to navigate, how to be himself again. Again, I just want to show the art here. Art is phenomenal in all of this. I like the panels. I love how him riding a horse is coming off the page like that. Like, it's a great page here. All of the pages kind of have similar art. But if you were able to read that, what you see is like, as he's learning to kind of cope with his blindness and re-become himself, he also realizes that he has a new clan. He even says, this is my new family. So it's one of those, very obvious, maybe even a little cheesy parallels of, even though he's blind, he's able to see better. More is revealed to him. He's revealed that he can have a clan. He still could have a family. These things are still available to him. But then, because we know he has to go to the Last Ronin, there's going to be a but. I didn't know how long they were going to leave us with him in this clan and having a slight glimpse of hope. It's not long. You get to the end of the issue. He's blind, so he doesn't completely, he's not able to get into the action of it all immediately. He's still kind of learning things. By the time he figures out what's going on and he gets involved, the entire clan is slaughtered by people who were looking for him. So then you get the last page. Again, spoilers. He's on the ground. He's finally able to see again. And the first thing he sees are these people that he just said was his new family slaughtered before him. And that's our to be continued. And man, I was a little upset. I loved it, but I was also like, you're going to leave me there? So the first two are snoozers, and then you're just going to bust this open? Now, I was like, what even?
Now, someone who hasn't read The Last Ronin, are these villains in that series, or are they villains for this?
These are just for this. He's eventually going to New York to get revenge on like Shredder's great-great-grandchild or something.
Okay.
Yeah. But man, it was just overwhelming how good this one was. Just kind of getting some of these different cultures, the Mongol thing, the blind sensei. He even compares this sensei to why can't I think of his name at the top of my head? Yeah, he compares him to Splinter at one point, and I'm just like, I hate that they gave us this hope, even though I knew it was going to be ripped away. Just the way it was and how like stoic of the art for that was on that last panel. I was like, now I'm mad. And it's funny because you see, which is part of why I thought he was Raphael in The Last Ronin, because they don't tell you who it is at first. So you get through that first issue and you're like, which one of the turtles is this? And I thought it was Raphael for a little bit because he had that anger. And that's not really what you associate with Michelangelo. And, even in that series, they show like how all of his family died. And it's like, okay, so that kind of got him there. And now I'm reading this and I'm like, no, now I'm mad too. And now I need to reread The Last Ronin to watch him just slaughter some people. I'm like, this is infuriating.
That's such a cool, from a writing standpoint, like not knowing which of the four it is.
Oh yeah.
I like that a lot.
Cool. You should read The Last Ronin. And I'm sorry I ruined it because I did not know you hadn't read it.
No, that's okay. Like I know like next to nothing about TMNT. But still, like I don't mind spoilers. Spoilers don't kill me. If anything, that increases my hype. Can I see the signs of who it is?
Yeah. And what makes it hard too, and what I thought was really cool from like artistic and writing thing. So in the original Last Ronin, he's seeing like basically the ghost of the other turtles. So even at first, I don't think you even know that they're all dead. and he's kind of having these hallucinations, and eventually you're able to figure out which one it is based off which one hasn't seen a hallucination.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, that's so sad. And he's bearing the guilt of how all of his brothers died. It's incredible. Like, it's terrible. And then in this, you see when he starts seeing the hallucinations. It's like filling in the gap years, and I'm starting to see how all these things piece together a little bit more. And I'm like, this is everything that I hoped this prequel Star Wars would be is what this is, where it's filling in all those gaps with information in a way that makes it cooler and adds to it and not cheesy and takes away from it.
Oh,
sorry, I don't like the prequels. Anyway,
that's okay.
It's funny because I know you hate
got that opinion.
That's a good opinion. That's
no,
like
any stretch of the imagination. I agree.
But my bad opinion is I really do like The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
that's not what we're here to talk about, though. We are here to talk about The Last Ronin. Just kind of getting this idea of what is family, what is just cause for revenge, what is righteous anger, and what is just life kind of is, excuse my language, a little shitty. And how do I react to that? And here it's kind of like I don't even think him being mad and getting revenge is a bad thing, because you're even seeing it. It's weird because you're seeing like the logic of it. It isn't him going, oh, I'm mad, I need to get revenge on these people that killed my family. He gave up on that. He tried to leave it all alone. And he's slowly coming to this realization of, if he doesn't go back and stop this is going to keep happening to other people. He's never going to have a family again. All these other things. And it's like, oh, okay, actually, this isn't just revenge. This is also the most sensible thing to do.
Yeah. Can you allow that cycle to keep happening for someone else?
Yeah. Which is why it's cool that in this series, I can't think of the word, just opposing it with the new turtles in the future, because you're seeing they're only going to be able to be turtles because he did stop that cycle. So it's kind of cool to see that. Yeah.
I like
that. As a moral question, Christian, my favorite seminary student.
Yes. Not a brand is unlocked.
Is it okay to seek your own vengeance if it's going to stop a cycle that's going to affect someone else?
I'd say it's where your head and heart are at. Am I doing this for me, or am I doing this because I know there is no other way for this to be done, and I can be the one to stop someone else from getting hurt?
Yeah.
If it's the latter, I'm all for it. If it's the former, you're going to end up more Punisher. And like, Frank does good work in killing a lot of people. Sure, they're terrible people, but his motivations, like the people get caught in the crossfire sometimes. Like, he doesn't always think rationally, and it's hurt him. Like, you got to be aware of what you can do. I'm not saying go out and murder people on the street, just because they're in a gang, but like, there are ways you can screw them over, like legally, like tape conversations or what have you.
Join the law force. That's also
law enforcement. Yeah. Yes. There's plenty of things that need to be done to reform that itself within its own ranks. And that was surprising, belief from the conservative here, but
yeah. Well, it's interesting. Just going back to even to like Augustine's City of God and his like just war theory kind of stuff. It's always been more theoretical to me. Just kind of okay, well, the Romans are mad at Christians because they didn't actually fight, and Augustine's like, maybe we should have fought because of these reasons. And even of course, when you see Aquinas's theories, they're all very like, what if these kind of like whatever situations. And I've always kind of had a distaste for some just war. Some of it I thought kind of made sense, but seeing it through this Ninja Turtles, this super fiction, right? But seeing it kind of laid out of, oh no, it's not just him. It's not just others. It's the future. It's all of these things hinge on him stopping Shredder's ancestors and putting an end to the cycle. And I'm like, oh, this ending a cycle, like specifically, that seems like it should fall in just war. And I'm a fan of that. I'm like, man, if Augustine had read the Last Ronin series and explained it through that, I might have been on board a little bit better.
That's a shame that he lived 2,000 years before.
Yeah, I missed the Last Ronin chapter of the City of God, which is like 50 books. He just needed a 51. Add Last Ronin reflections.
It's already not light reading to begin with, so you want to add more to the City of God?
Yeah. He needed a graphic novel at the end. That's really what it was. I needed the picture.
We'll be sure to complain about that once we get up in heaven with him.
I'm gonna let him know. I'm gonna talk to him. Like, why didn't you catch up with Kevin Eastman? All right, you want to move on to your next pick?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right, we have The Black Panther by Ewing and Chris Allen.
Yes. So just cards on the table. I was not a fan of the last Black Panther run. It got a little too dark, not necessarily edgy, for its own good, and it tried to change the status quo for T'Challa, and not making him king anymore, and all these other decisions that, once again, I didn't particularly care for. So it's nice to get something that acknowledges the past, but is doing its own thing. Because right now what we get is T'Challa working in a city named after his dad within Wakanda, where he's kind of acting almost like a Spider-Man figure, a vigilante of sorts, because he's not the king. I mean, he's still the Black Panther, so he has authority, but not in the same way he used to. So he's going after small-time crooks, which, when was the last time you saw him do that? And he's stopping purses from being snatched, and he's stopping people from getting hurt by, gang members. And I really enjoy that. Other than there was one brief run of actually Daredevil where Black Panther took over for him while he was gone. I think it was after the Shadowland event or something like that. So he's done this before. There's precedence. But to have a book more focused on that, yeah, I'm all for it. So we get him in the city, say, hey, I'm no longer the king, but I can still let people know that, there's still law in Wakanda. Mm-hmm. So I'm always big on that. And he goes through his spiel about rejoining the Avengers, which just happened in McKay's run, because there was a brief falling out there with, here's a real unpopular opinion, and maybe the worst opinion you've heard today. I did not care for Aaron's Avengers. And I know Will for sure has liked most of it, but he's more positive because I've listened to him talk on Across the Bifrost.
So what if Ryan Dose listens to this, Christian?
Well, if he does, Ryan, I love your work, but I didn't care for Aaron's Avengers. It's all over the place, but it's not what we came to discuss today.
Yeah, but we are going to start now. So the Age of Khonshu. Sorry, I'm done.
Terrible event.
I love all Khonshu and Moon Knight. So
I think a little too breaking the spirit of the rules of Mjolnir and all that. Not my thing. But anyways, on to actually Black Panther 1, because I just have to send us on rabbit trails. We get T'Challa actually meeting up with an old friend of his dad's, who's his name is Niobe Umaru. I don't know if he's appeared before now, but I enjoyed his character because he's just like this simple guy in town handling all these issues. And T'Challa actually comes to him and confides in him, scares him, accidentally causing him to drop his tea. And there's this really funny moment. It's like, hey, the former king is in my room. I still want to keep offering you tea, but he keeps looking at the ground and there's a broken pot right there. So I really enjoy the humor there. And it's just that the two of them discussing, because earlier in the book, there was this political debate, does Wakanda as a nation need the Black Panther to lead? Should T'Challa come back? Or should we move on to this new democratic kind of system of government that we have? And you get some good debating on both sides there. I really appreciated. But just this down to earth moment between T'Challa and I forgot his name, Niobe, I think. I was discussing his role in this world where he is no longer king of Wakanda. And we get after T'Challa leaves, this villain comes and steals something from Niobe. And we get also the ending panel, because Deathlock hasn't been used enough in recent history, of Deathlock being used by some Wakandan scientists. So,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ultimately positive on this. I'm ready to see where things go. Deathlock's one of the things I think were overused in Aaron's Avengers as well. But you know what? That is what it is. Black Panther 1, well worth your time.
So more like your friendly Wakanda Kingdom neighborhood Black Panther.
Yes.
Okay.
At least starting off. That may change later on, but it's a good start.
How's the art?
I love the art.
Okay.
I'm not anywhere close to being an art critic. Like
Yeah.
I can't draw worth anything. Like the one thing I can draw consistently is a terrible rendition of snow speeders trying to take down AT-ATs on Hoth. And that's only because I did that in Sunday school whenever we were supposed to be drawing something else.
I think it's amazing. That's not the first time I've heard that. Oh man.
Oh yeah,
That's
that was
funny.
a fun discussion. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I try and look at art in a way. It's like, okay, I know I can't do this, but what is actually good about this? What is actually bad about this? Let me judge it on those merits. And this is great, really good art.
Man, okay. I think the last Black Panther that I tried to pick up, I don't know who did it, but it was so dark it was hard for me to read it.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to read this right now. Like, it probably was great. I just was not in the mood for straining to read or seeing like something that's like that kind of like edgy Black Panther, which I know there's a reason for it, but I wasn't in the mood.
Yeah, we get some real good like Afrofuturist ideas of like we've seen like Wakanda, the capital, and all that, but like what about the other cities within the country? So it's still futuristic, but there's sort of like that slumminess to it as well that really gets carried in the art. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I man, yeah. See, I love Black Panther. I just, ironically, this might be a bad opinion. I don't know. Ever since the Black Panther movie, I felt like a lot of the Black Panther comics that came out tried to be a lot more about racial politics and kind of stuff. And I'm there for those conversations. We're about to start our own political thing, series for systematic ecology. I think we're going to call it primarily political. And I'm excited for it. We're going to kick it off probably with me and David a little earlier than we thought and talk about when Captain Quark and Ratchet and Clank became President Quark, because that was just hilarious. We're going to do some lighthearted stuff as well as some serious stuff, and there's definitely time for that. But having grown up reading Black Panther, and for so long it wasn't about a lot of that, it just kind of was a hard transition for me.
Okay.
It's one that needs to happen, so I'm there for it. It's just kind of I'm used to Black Panther just kind of being Captain America, but in Africa.
Fair.
I was there for that, but times change, and I like the way they're taking the stories and the characters, and it's probably a lot more meaningful this way. So I'm here for it. I just need to transition a little bit better. So maybe this will be a good transition for me.
Well, let's leave on something positive for that. For Aaron's run, one of my favorite parts of his run was T'Challa as leader of the Avengers.
That does sound cool. I didn't read all of Aaron's Avengers run, but I honestly have a really hard time reading some of the Avengers comics just because it gets too convoluted. I don't like cosmic bad guys usually. Thanos is one of the exceptions, but you get like King the Conqueror, and I'm like, don't care at all. I'm like, I just don't care. That's one of DC's problems for me. I'm like, I want Captain America going underground, spy stuff, figuring out who the Winter Soldier is, all of that. That's fun for me. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to recommend Black Panther by Ewing and Chris Allen, which I haven't read yet, but I'm still going to recommend it. I'm excited for it. Speaking of art, before I get to my next topic, I went to Comic-Con with Will last week, Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a lot of fun. Met Scotty Young. I didn't realize he was there, one, and two, forgot a lot of the stuff that he did. And once I saw it, I was like, oh, wait, that's the guy who did the Rocket Raccoon and Groot series in 2016. We have talked about that for Arbor Day last year. Check out that episode. But also, when we did that, that was the first time I finished the series, because in the middle of reading the series, I was picking it up issue by issue. That's when I had my car accident. So, 2016, really dark year for me, but Rocket Raccoon and Groot happened that year. And whenever I was able to go revisit, it was kind of able to shed some light on a dark time for me and kind of make it seem better, if that makes sense. Kind of helped me work through some of my stuff. And I was able to tell Scotty Young that and talk to him. That was really cool.
Nice.
Great moment. Got a picture with him. It was awesome. But that's what I want to start off with. Sometimes, even if they don't seem as meaningful or anything, some of our sillier, happier, more fun comics can actually be even more meaningful if it happens to be something you picked up at the right time or anything like that. Starting that off, now I'm going to talk about Ninjasaur by Jason Horn.
I saw this on the list. Like, what the heck is Ninjasaur? Explain.
So, also, while I was at Comic-Con, I discovered Ninjasaur. So, at Comic-Con, there's like Indie Island, and it's like all the indie artists and indie writers who do stuff. Ninjasaur by Jason Horn started off as a web comic. He was able to do enough and make enough like online stuff to put it together into these graphic novels and sell them. And I was like, Ninjasaur, what? Then I read the back. This is how he sold me. Where I was like, I have to read this. Because when someone's self-aware of how silly something is, that's when you know it's going to be great.
That helps.
Kids love dinosaurs. Everyone loves ninjas. But what happens when you combine the two? Naturally, your brain explodes. And I was like, all right, well, that's literally all the info I need.
I'm in.
Then he dedicates his book to his wife, Catherine, and says none of these pages would exist if I did not have your support. So you are to blame for the silliness in this book. So he knows that this is a silly project, and it's fantastic. I always love talking about indie writers and stuff like that too. Support your local art, your local comic book writers, all of that. So today we're supporting Jason Horn. I want you guys to check out Ninjasaur. For my money, the character is very much what if Deadpool was for children.
Okay.
And man, he's had some fun stuff. He did a sketch in the book for me and signed it. So that's cool. I have that. Also, I don't know how well people can see this. This is just one of the many fun little moments in here. There's a lot of just like joke moments in this page, the panels. He's being attacked by a guy who has a time machine gun. It's a machine gun, or whatever it shoots, it sends back to other parts in time. Like the Weeping Angels of Doctor Who, but just parts of you that get hit by the bullets of the time machine gun. Because why not?
Sure.
And at one point he's like, I'm going to shoot you and send you back to the Bronze Era. And he literally goes, dude, Dinosaur Ninja. Like, yeah, that says literally everything we need to know. It's great. There's another scene where he defeats the bad guy. He's like, I know someone who wants to see you. And he sends it to basically Craven Manhunter kind of guy. And they have the head on the wall, and the head's like talking back to him, like, are you really just going to keep me here? And it's just everything about it is just so silly, so great. He's very quippy, very much like Deadpool, in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with this. I thought it was great. I thought it was creative. The art is really fun. It is indeed kid friendly. And all of that kind of fun, like at one point he's like, I laugh at danger. I'm going to open that door and I'm going to see danger. And then I'm going to laugh and it's going to say, what are you laughing at? And I'm going to be like, you, because you're danger. And I'm like, yeah, this is fantastic. You guys probably know I love silly things in general. So this was made for me. I thought it was hilarious. And sometimes I want to challenge everybody. Sometimes you just need something that's going to make you laugh, make you smile, make you feel good. For my money, this is one of those picks. So if you can find Ninjasaur by Jason Horn, do it. It's worth it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Excellent.
And yeah. So with that, before we wrap this up, we did want to talk about Comic Cons and conventions in general. I mentioned I went to Heroes Con. We saw Scotty Young. I had that conversation with him. It was really cool. We saw Daniel Warren Johnson. Big deal for Will, especially with him being such a big fan of Do a Powerbomb. And I met Jonathan Hickman. Got him to sign my Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood. I have a Treasury edition. He didn't even know they printed editions like that. So that was cool. He was like, I didn't even know they made that for this one. I was like, yep.
Okay.
Will was able to
Teaching Hickman
remind
something.
him.
Wow.
Yeah. Will was able to remind him of a series that he's starting in like a couple of days. When this comes out is when the series starts, and he did not know how early it started. And he was like, oh, he told us that issue 2 is really going to change things up. So excited for that. He's going to be restarting the Ultimate Universe for Marvel. So that's going to be fun. Especially since he's the one who ended it. So
it's only fair he brings it back.
Yeah. So it was a blast. I love that we got to do that. But I did want to bring up, because there's something special about being with like-minded people in an area like that. You don't have to have someone up on a stage preaching or anything like necessarily. Just kind of you able to have that community, able to discover, some indie writers like the writer of Ninjasaur, or there was one that I saw that was a Theseus. It was a little too pricey for me at the time, so I might get it later. But it was about the old, Roman Greek myth kind of stuff, and the subtitle was like definitely inaccurate version of the story. I'm sold.
To be fair, in Greek Roman mythology, there's no such thing as an accurate story. There's thousands upon thousands of myths that all contradict each other.
I just love that he included that. Just going to go ahead and put that out there for all the people who are like, well, actually, nope. It's right there in the subtitle. And the art for that also looked a lot of fun. So I love getting to meet some of the indie artists and writers, seeing some of my friends representing some of their art, seeing people get sketches done and meet these people that inspired them. Really cool thing. Obviously, Comic Cons aren't the only conventions out there. Churches have conventions. There's music conventions, festivals, different stuff like that. Christian, why do you think these big in-person gatherings are so much more impactful sometimes than even some of our online stuff like YouTube or podcasts?
That's that personal touch of, actually being there. Like, I mean, I've never talked to Jonathan Hickman in person before. There's a lot I'd like to talk about. The man is Fantastic Four run, it's Avengers run and all that stuff.
House of X.
House of X, Secret Wars, all that. But like, there's a difference between like, maybe I'd be able to like add him on Twitter or something, but like, sure, he may respond to me if, he deems it necessary to do so, but I didn't talk to the man. Yeah. Like, I didn't get to see the artist that produced this wondrous thing that made me feel something that I'd never felt before. I didn't get to meet that writer who no one would ever have discovered if he didn't appear at places like this, or to buy comics like my dad does. He got, what did he say? I was talking to him yesterday. He got 60 comics for $30.
Wow.
And originally they were in the dollar bin. The guy who owned it said, hey, we're down to 50 cents now because it's the last day. Wow. And that's why one of the reasons he also goes on Sunday, other than it being cheaper to go on Sunday.
Nice. That's funny.
But like, you get that sense of community because he's not the only person doing that there. So we could talk to someone and say, hey, I noticed you bought this. Hey, have you read this? And you can have those conversations. That's why stuff like this is so important, because that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah. It was fun getting to see Will too. But I think of it personally. I think of it a lot like that story in the Bible where Elijah, after just doing this huge miracle for God, this huge thing, it's not that he's not close to God, right? He has this moment where he's struggling. He feels like he's the only one. It's it might not be Elijah. I think this is Elijah.
Yeah,
Elijah. He thinks he's the only one. He's struggling. God's providing his food, everything for him, and yet he still feels alone. He still feels not great, And it's like, but you're the man of God. You have all of this. You directly communicate with God. You know that there's other people out there, but God sends him to a place where he sees all the other people. And something about being in the presence of other like-minded people who believe similarly, who have that thing, was a comfort to him. And I think that's still true, whether you're Christian or not, going to something like Comic-Con and me kind of just going, I'm not the only person whose life has been touched by Scotty Young's work, who outside in the regular world, if I say that, the real world, someone will be like, that's just a silly comic book, whatever. You have no fear at Comic-Con. You're going to say that, and someone else is going to say, yeah, me too. Will's going to get super excited to hear Daniel Warren Johnson, and someone's going to be like, who's that? Who cares? He's going to hear a bunch of other people being like, me first, like there's something about being in the presence and kind of having that safe place I think is really important. And I think that's what our churches should be. I think more so than just a place where you get taught and learn. I think a lot of times it's just important to have that place where you're safe, like,
yes.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's not always the case, but I think it should be, perhaps.
Well, you should be able to be yourself at church. I mean, warts and all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times people put on a face or they do this or that, and it's kind of like, that's not
healthy.
That's funny. I just read that you said lightning doesn't have any in it.
Yeah, I sent that private chat to him, by the way, an hour ago. So I'm so glad you paid attention.
I didn't know that there was a private chat. Yeah, but yeah, is there something healthy about it? Yes, we do need to learn more about the Bible, God, all that. Yes, the sacraments are important. I go to a church that's a lot more sacrament focused. But more than any of that, going somewhere where you could say, I love God, but I really struggle with this part of the Bible, or I really struggle with this sin, or I am this, and all the other churches I've been to don't allow me to identify as this, that kind of stuff. I think it's important to have that safe place where you feel like you can say these things and be open with the people around you.
Yes.
Yeah. It's also where Theology Beer Camp went to last year. I think that was something really cool about it. A lot of the people, I don't even know if everybody would identify as Christian, but a lot of them don't feel comfortable in a church at all. But they were able to go to Will's church where that was happening and feel like they were in a safe place because everybody else has been through a lot of this other stuff of, excommunication or hurt from the church or any of that. And that's also important. So it's just important to have these places where you can be with people with similar experiences and beliefs and feel safe. Whether it's Comic-Con, beer camp, or just church on Sunday. I think it's just important to have these places. Yeah.
Oh,
All
yes.
right. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I think we did a good job.
Yeah. It was a fun time. It was a good time. My phone just went off. I didn't know the sound was on, guys. This was my first time using StreamYard, so I apologize to everyone for some of the rough edges here. I'm figuring it out. Having a lot of fun with these images. That was cool. But if you were on Patreon, you could have participated. You could have interacted. Let us know about your comics. If you're not on Patreon, you can. Next time, you can join Comicbook Ketchup. Tell us what you've been reading. Jump in there. Let us know what you thought about Amazing Spider-Man issue 28 that I'm sure Christian's going to complain about one day.
That's a top bet.
Yeah. Jump on in there. Talk to us on Patreon, patreon.com/systematic geekology. Or if you just want to keep hearing these and checking them out, you can go to YouTube. You can go to Captivate. We have a private stream over there that you could have caught this. Rate and review on YouTube. Rate and review on Podchaser is our preferred. If you do listen to the podcast, rate us over there. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time for another comic book catch-up in July. And all that being said, remember, we're all a chosen people, a geekdom of priests.